everyone. It's Holly Fulger with True Beauty Discovery and our legendary speaking series. Today, I get to speak with Katherine Bormann, who is a violinist with the Cleveland Orchestra. Hi, Katherine.
Hello, Holly.
I'm so happy to talk to you. I met Katherine over the holidays. I was at a gala and we had a dinner and we sat next to each other. And it was so amazing because I'm an actress as well, and she's a musician, and I'm fascinated by the process. I am fascinated. I want to get a little of your background, but I had listened to a podcast you did about Strauss's Rose.
Rose and Cavalier, yes,
Yes,
the
and I
opera.
want to talk to you about that because it was really, really, really amazing to listen to you. So
Oh.
you joined the orchestra in 2011, yes?
Yes, in fact, yesterday was my 14-year anniversary of the day I won the job. So on that day, I always kind of just reflect and celebrate and light a few candles and find some champagne, and it feels like a really special day. You never forget how lucky you were.
I
So
remember
yeah.
you telling us about that at the dinner that we were attending, and how excited you were and how you celebrate that day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you studied in at Rice University and then you went to Juilliard?
That's correct. Yep, I did undergrad at Rice, which was a fun school, and it had a lot of academics, which I love. So that was kind of a neat fit. And Juilliard for masters, and boy, exciting to live in New York for a couple years. I'm glad
Yeah.
I'm in Cleveland now full time, but for a couple years, that's a neat place to get to be. And then I did 4 years in Miami, Florida, with the New World Symphony, which is a training orchestra started by Michael Tilson Thomas of San Francisco Symphony. And he
Wow.
wanted to give um, orchestral musicians a chance to really focus on the audition repertoire. So to practice taking mock auditions, and he had coaches come, musicians from all over the world in different orchestras, so that you could practice your concertos and you practice the excerpt lists that you have to play, and as well as just learning repertoire, playing orchestral concerts together. So you start learning the repertoire in a really detailed way.
And
And
you're
then
on the
I've
board of trustees there.
Yes, yep, for the rest of this year. I've been on several years now, and I'm just finishing a stint. There's going to be a new alumni representative after me on the board. So, yeah.
Okay. So did you always want to be a musician when you grew up? Like, how did that happen?
Uh,
What was your,
gosh, my mom, both my parents were musical, and my mom was a pianist, and taught piano, and was a music therapist. And so she's kind of the one that really, really got me going and practiced with me and played with me. We still play together when we
really?
see each other. Yeah. And so she did a lot of different things with music. And I think it was really when I left home at 15 to go to the Interlochen Arts Academy, for the last 2 years of high school. And I think that was where I was thinking, gosh, like, maybe this is what I want to do for a living. Because as you know, as an actress, I mean, it's so fun to be around other artists, whatever the art form is. And Interlochen, is a high school they have dance, drama, creative writing, visual art, and music. And so I think it was such an inspiring place to be around just other young people who wanted to go into these professions and to be inspired by each other.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in North Dakota, so so probably you're going
I
to
was
hear an
remembering,
accent
right.
somewhere. Yeah. And my parents are still there, and it's fun to get to see them, and they love visiting Cleveland and coming to concerts. And they've traveled with me to Vienna when
They
we've played
have.
concerts there. Yeah, so I'm hoping they'll get to come on another tour when it works out, the timing works out. So that's a perk of this job, is getting to travel, as well as being in our beloved Severance Music Center, our Severance Hall. We get to go abroad and go to New York. We're going to New York in Carnegie Hall next week. So
I just read that.
yeah.
Yeah, I just read that. And that's the conductor who first conducted you. His name is Franz Welser. I'm sure I'm
Yes. Yes,
well.
yeah. Our music director, Franz Welser-Most, and he is Austrian, and that's part of the reason I think we have such a big presence in Vienna is of his connection there. And he's been music director for quite a while. And he's had some health things recently, so he had to miss in the fall, and that was sad. But we're glad to see him again. It's been great to have him this couple weeks. So he's doing a little longer stint this time with us, and that's great. And we're going to do an opera with him next month, and so lots coming up.
Okay, I have a question. So with a conductor, because they're so different, their styles are so different, so that when you work with different conductors, I'm sure it's probably like working with different directors, but what do you have better connections with certain conductors?
Everybody in the orchestra will have a different individual opinion on what they like visually or what is useful to them. But I think we also have kind of a general collective sense as an orchestra of what do we vibe well with, or whom we sound exciting or precise or interesting with. I mean, that really does change. So it is an individual sort of opinion, but it's we have a collective of how do we operate as a group working with this person. And some guest conductors we've worked with for years, so there's a collective memory of. Fabio Luisi would be a great example. Wonderful Italian conductor, does a lot of opera. He's a very elegant man. He's a very, very kind. His visual style, I think, is something we can read easily,
Right.
and how he rehearses is I think the orchestra in general really appreciates. So he's a very, very elegant, very kind, um, old school in the best way kind of guy. So he's somebody I would say mostly the orchestra really, really gels with so well, and I think everybody does love him. And then sometimes we'll see a person we've never seen before, and that can be exciting too. You can have a different take on it, and it does change where you sit on stage. You can have a conductor who, let's say, really gets working with the strings very easily, but maybe the winds and brass don't feel they're getting, enough information in a stick, or vice versa. I've had the experience because when you sit on the violins, that's stage right, as you know. So when you're looking at the stage, it's on the left hand side, and you're sideways to the conductor. So
Right.
you would, if you were looking at me, this is you're seeing, and a beat pattern is very different when you're looking square at it versus 90 degrees from the side. So how somebody shapes their beat is a big thing. And the last thing is rehearsal technique. How somebody rehearses the music really does a lot to either endear or annoy musicians, because you have
Well,
to be efficient but also creative, and you give the orchestra their responsibility, but you also need to suggest things or shape things.
do they stop you? Like sometimes when I work with directors, they'll stop you. They'll be like, okay, try this or do this. Do they stop you ever like that? Is that
They do, yes. Usually we start by playing a chunk of music, a a fairly big section, sometimes the whole movement, and then we go back and work on things. Sometimes we'll play through a whole piece to get the sense of it, and then they'll go back and start, picking apart things or putting things back together, looking for different colors, or shaping the dynamics, or changing articulation or phrases, more to their specifications. So yeah, it can be quite detailed.
so? When I was listening to the podcast that you talked about Rosenkavalier, I
Mhm,
I was so taken with it because you talked about how when you heard it first, correct? And
mhm.
how moved you were by it. And then you wanted to, when you played it, it was just, how that music affected you. And that was really amazing to me. And what goes into the performance of, a piece of music by the musician, like their point of view. I just, that's really cool to me. It sounds sort of nerdy, but
No, no, that's so kind, and I think there are definitely, just in the same way that movies or certain plays or books speak to you through the years, there are certain classical pieces, especially orchestral pieces for me, that really bring back a lot of memories. So you remember the first time you heard it, or the first time you got to perform it and learn it, or maybe you were going through, a very difficult time in your life or a very celebratory time. And you have a memory of the friends that you played, who were on stage with you, that you were at a festival somewhere. It was you were at New World, you were in school, it was your first job, with the Cleveland Orchestra, in Severance your first year, or you were in tour, and these pieces get really attached to specific people and conductors and halls and experiences in your life. And the Rosenkavalier, I mean, it's such a fun piece orchestrally, and it's a great composition. But I was playing it at that time. That it was the first time I'd played it really, um, with an orchestra, and it was a difficult time for me because I was auditioning for orchestras, and I didn't know where I was going to end up or if I would even get a job. So it was a really kind of a hard time. So that, and then it ends with such an achingly beautiful section in the strings. And so just every time I hear it, I guess I think of how lucky I am to be doing this job, and it really makes me feel very, very grateful and honored, and just lucky, just purely lucky to get to do this for a living.
When I go to the symphony, and I love to watch the different musicians, of course I watch you because I know you, but I love to watch when you perform, just I love to watch your faces, and I love to watch what the music, how you are interpreting the music. Do you ever start crying? That's just, I mean, I would think that sometimes the music is so intense that it would bring up so much emotion. Is it
it,
also what might get in the
it
way?
yeah, it is, it can be very emotional. Most of the time, you still, there's that piece of you, like, again, as an actress, you would know that you have a job to do.
Right.
So there's some part of you, if you watch the orchestra, there's a lot of subtle interactions between stand partners, between sections. So I think as a violinist, a lot of our attention, you're of course you're focusing on being with your stand partner, but you're really focusing on playing together as a section, of the section of first violins or second violins or strings, which means you're watching the principal players, the concertmaster, the principal second, and of course you're listening. Your ears are hopefully all over the place, open all the time. And that, you're right. I mean, the emotion is partly because we're all doing this together. And I think that's one of the beauties and the joys of art. And I mean, you find that in sports too. I honestly think one of the big appeal, why sports appeal to so many people, is more people have had that experience growing up in
Right.
sports. That
Right.
that communal sense of you're going for a common goal, and you're reading each other in the field, or whatever it is. And I think back in the day, more people had music in schools, so they had that sense of doing it from the time they were young. And I think that's something it would be great to see more of today, because almost anything you do when you're young, you're going to have a physical body memory of it,
Right.
and then that translates emotionally. So yeah, it can be. Last night, in fact, we were playing the Ravel Piano Concerto, and that the second movement of that, oh, it begins so beautifully, and it's just the piano by itself. And I was thinking of a wonderful old conductor of mine, and just having some of those memories really do fill you. And yeah, sometimes it's hard to just not step back and just listen, but you have to remain engaged to keep playing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that is just amazing to me. Now, you took our quiz, True Beauty Discovery's Legend Quiz, and you're the warrior.
Yes.
Yes, which I
I,
love. I was thinking about that and about, watching you play and how you come to the music, and it's very voyeur-esque in a way for me, watching you and seeing you do what you do. You're,
oh,
yeah,
thank you. I love that. I was kind of excited to, I didn't know what would pop up, but that was kind of fun. And sometimes concerts are a little bit of a battle. Practice, the discipline of practice is a battle, and to continually try to be better. There's times where it feels easy, and there's times where it really takes a lot to say, I don't want to coast. I don't want to just show up and, get through the day. I want to really make myself improve. And some things, like in life, in a lot of different areas, some things get harder as you get older, as you age. You do have to think about your body. You have to think about stretches and staying so you don't get injured. You have to, some technical things. It's hard to stay in shape, but it's also thrilling to have a career where you can, for sure mentally and a lot of times physical longevity. If you maintain your body, you can do this for a long time, and that's a real lucky thing. And so it takes work and it takes focus, and it does take a bit of courage to um, to put yourself out there. And anytime, musicians have solos or solo performances, you're even more exposed. So that's a real, it's not easy to do. I've taken some auditions for title chairs. I haven't won those, but every time I've done that, it makes you appreciate how hard it is to get up there and do that, and to perform in front of other people, and to perform in that role. So that's a good exercise to keep you going.
When you are performing, do you ever get nervous when I would think no. I don't
Not too often,
yeah.
usually if I feel nervous, it's because I don't feel ready. So
Right. Right.
so ideally, and you can, there can be concerts, of course, where you feel, a little jumpy, or maybe you haven't had enough rehearsal time on some piece with your chamber group, or maybe you've prepared a solo that, but most of the time, at this stage of the game, you kind of know what you need to do in the time frame you have to get ready. And so most of the time, it's just pretty fun and thrilling. And a lot of times, even if you feel a little nervous for, a day-to-day thing, the nerves go away pretty fast once you start playing. And you just, again, try to stay open, stay courageous, stay focused on the music. If you start thinking about yourself, or how am I doing, or how do I sound, to
Right.
me, then I get worse. But if I
Right.
start thinking the music, the phrase, the line,
Right.
then I feel less nervous instantly.
So as an actor, when you're in a scene or you're doing something, if you're too much in your head, you're not playing out what you need to play out in the role. So I understand that completely.
Yes.
Um, are you playing tonight?
Yes, yep, we got a concert tonight and one tomorrow afternoon, and then, yeah, well, one more week here in town, and then the week after that's Carnegie Hall. So
Oh, that must be so exciting.
it's going to be fun.
Are you in Europe this summer?
When are we going to Europe next? I'd have to check the calendar. We were gonna go this year, but we've had some cancellations of various things. There was supposed to be a tour in the fall. But yeah, we'll be back there for sure. I just don't know when.
And
Yeah, we've
what
gotten to go to
pieces?
Asia in the past. We've done Asia and different places in Europe. So that's kind of fun.
That's amazing. What pieces are you playing at Carnegie Hall?
We're doing Tchaikovsky's Fifth Symphony, and we've got, I think, Petrushka's on that program, and got a few. There's a Janacek piece that I don't actually know very well. That's new to me. The House of the Dead, and Beethoven Five is on there. So yeah, a few different pieces coming up.
And the Cleveland Orchestra is one of the best orchestras in the world.
I mean, we're
Come on.
we're a known entity, I would say. There's a lot of great orchestras places, and that's the other fun thing about, like, you being an artist, is you've got friends in a lot of different cities. So when
Right.
we go on tour, I'm going to see some friends in New York, and almost any city you go to, you have a friend in the orchestra there. We were in Finland this last year, and for the first time, I'd never been there, and I got to see an old friend who's in an orchestra in Finland. So,
Wow.
it's a small world, and it's fun to reconnect with people through the years, and get to see what they're up to, and yeah, go to each other's concerts. So that's a gift.
Well, I am honestly in awe of you. I truly am. I feel so lucky to have sat next to you at that
Oh,
dinner and to
likewise,
talk to you.
likewise.
and to learn about you and to learn about you as an artist and as a warrior, as you continue on. I'm just, you know, kind of gobsmacked, kind of fangirly. So
That's
anyway,
so kind, Holly. And I just, it was great to be able to sit next to you also at that dinner, get to know you, and appreciate your coming to the orchestra and seeing you there, and love what you're doing with, your advancement of women and
thank you.
inspiration. And I think that's a really important and beautiful thing. So I'm honored you would talk to me today. It's great to be here with you.
Thank you. If you could say anything to your younger little self, what would you say to her and girls out there?
Oh, trust yourself. Um, yeah, trust yourself. Stay patient. Keep working. But give yourself the gift of your own grit, and know that what you're kind of feeling is going to be correct, and really go for it. Go whatever you're sort of thinking in the moment, just kind of go for it. Be strong, and kind of don't worry too much about, I don't want to say consequences, but don't worry too much about doubting yourself. I guess really believe in yourself. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this interview, Katherine
Pleasure.
Bormann from True Beauty Discovery. Thank you.